promote the new trio because Tamir was in the band 24 years.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so, I'm trying to establish the new trio. So it's nothing against Tamir.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let me just do some cutting and pasting.
All right.
Yeah.
The screen is freezing again. Is yours freezing?
That was great. Oh my gosh.
Thank you. My screen was freezing during that. I guess yours wasn't, right?
Mine is not.
Okay, that's good. That's good. It was like still photos of one of Ray and then
Yeah,
one of Hank and then one of me. And so as long as it, yeah, okay, we can check that later. Well, you know where to find it if you need to edit it. So,
that's true. And um, usually when that happens, it's not, it doesn't show like that on Facebook or
okay.
YouTube.
Okay.
So, let's see. And I have some comments. Ali Barget. Fabulous. Great photos. Photos. Maybe she is seeing photos.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Taylor, woohoo, great to see you. And Jeff, Taylor Hatch. It's been years since Jeff and I connected, which I believe was at the NAMM show in 2019. One of my musical colleagues, Daryl Voss, and I speak highly of Jeff. Oh, my connection seems to be fuzzy. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to do about that. Yeah, everything's on. My connection is green light and everything. So we're gonna have a beautiful moment, and then we'll maybe later I can post it in a better way. Jeff Hamilton, hello.
How you doing?
Jeff Hamilton, I'm so happy that you are speaking with me today because, it's been so many years since we've known each other, but, never really for a 2 hour hang. You know what I mean?
True.
Never for a long hang. And things that strike me like right up front about you is humility and an absolute love of the music. And that deeply turns me on as a human being and a jazz musician and everything. I mean, that just makes me extremely emotional. And I think that's maybe part of why I reached for jazz when I was young anyway. The first group I saw was Modern Jazz Quartet, and I was so blown away with all that of them, you know. They respected each other. The music was this really high level. It was a really beautiful experience, and I think that made a big difference to me, being a part of that. So I want to talk about that a little bit, like right off the bat. Um, you've had such an involved career, and with incredible events and artists. Uh, and is there, does the idea of, I'm not sure how to ask this, and I'm not even sure of the question maybe, but does the idea of staying humble or being in the moment or the reality of, I'm just here, we're friends, we're making music, is that part of your thinking?
Well, going back to the Modern Jazz Quartet, first of all, it'll be nice to hang for more than a couple of minutes here. So, starting off with such kind comments as that, it's not going to be difficult for me to do. Thank you. The the Modern Jazz Quartet, the first thing I think of when I think of them is professionalism. They were proud of what they were, what they wanted to present through the vision of John Lewis, and that professionalism to me was so vital in the groups that I liked because my introduction into jazz was through big bands. We had a lot of big band records at home, and my father was in General Patton's army, laid the cable in front of Patton so he could communicate. He was a track star, so they put him in front of the infantry. And so the big band music was vital at that point. It was the only music. And so we had a lot of big band records in the house when I came along. And that was my first introduction, as I said. So that drew me to the Count Basie Orchestra. It drew me to Oscar Peterson. Both of those organizations resemble the same professionalism that you mentioned when you saw the Modern Jazz Quartet. And somehow that stuck with me, the suits and the ties and pride of what you're presenting and including the audience in what you're playing. You want to offer what you have to the audience and maybe elevate their knowledge of music while you're doing it. Don't dumb down to anybody. Play the music you believe in and what you're proud of. So those things I really wasn't aware of when I got into the music, but everybody that I loved had those qualities. Um, and I had great mentors who also had those same qualities. It was anything but these are friends and we're getting together and playing music. We were all very serious about it, and so I didn't play with a lot of people who weren't as intense about the music, and I got called on it in high school. Like, look, we're all 16 years old here. What are you trying to do? And I wanted to be on Duke Ellington's band at 15. So, I mean, I had to kind of figure out how to get through high school without offending everybody. But I got into college band when I was 15 in the local
Oh,
Earlham College jazz ensemble in Richmond, Indiana. So it's doing your homework. I've always been ready for whatever situation I was thrown into and expected to sound like $1 million and present myself the way that they felt I should and I felt I should. And that's sort of just what I've always done. I've just sort of grew up with that, whether it was from early marching band and the hair off your ears and no facial hair and push-ups if you're not in line and the discipline and the self-discipline and again mainly the intensity but the passion for the music. I mean, I never got into the music of my generation. My peers were kind of laughing at me but understood me that I had something going that they didn't know about, and then they left me alone and kind of respected me that, look, he's finding his own path, but we can still hang out. So I think all of that, it's a long answer to your question, but that'll get us started anyway.
yeah, that's really interesting. Um, wow, I can really feel that. And well, also because my dad was a sax player. I'm from Boston, and he was a band leader, and big bands. That
Mhm.
was, that was what I grew up on with Ella Fitzgerald. And I actually didn't hear a whole lot of singers. He had limited singer records. He had Ella and Rosemary Clooney and some of the groups, the High Lows. And um, he didn't really have like, I don't even know if he had Carmen records or Sarah. I mean, I just, Stan Kenton and that kind of stuff. That's what I
Yeah.
grew up
But the
listening to.
vocalists you did mention were like instrumentalists the way they sang. And Rosemary Clooney, I worked with Rose and with Ella, and they were instruments. The thing about Rose was she didn't improvise a lot, but when she sang the melody, you understood the lyric and the meaning of what she was trying to get across. And I think a lot of instrumentalists, like your father, perhaps only gravitated toward
Mm,
jazz musician type vocalists,
yeah.
and the Hilos were definitely that.
Oh, yeah.
Don Shelton, we spent a lot of time talking about that. It was like, yeah, but this is my instrument. We're not trying to
Yeah.
be crooners.
Yeah. 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 The phrasing. I mean, Rose's phrasing.
Mhm.
That I guess that's where I learned my phrasing mostly, and Ella, but I think Rose was even better. And as I grew older, I I finally thought that Carmen McRae was kind of the drop dead greatest phraser ever, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Wow. As a matter of fact, there was, you know, giving a lot of workshops and seeing teachers come into my workshop space and having them give workshops. Like every singer talks about do not interrupt the sentence, all that kind of stuff. But Carmen could interrupt anywhere, and
Yeah.
you would still be like waiting to hear what she was going to say. I mean, that's pretty incredible. Pretty
Yeah,
incredible.
Ray Brown loved Carmen McRae. He said if you want to know anything about how a lyric should be delivered, all you have to do is listen to Carmen McRae.
Yeah.
And uh, you knew she meant everything that she sang. And more than interrupting, I think it was, I feel like taking a pause and breathing here, and I want to keep you on the edge of your seat until I finally deliver the next part of the lyric, that I want you to get this. And more than interrupting herself, I think it was like, I'm pacing this whole thing and I'm going to take you with me.
And every word was an image.
Right.
That was what was so great. She didn't throw away any word.
Right.
The last record she did with was it John Clayton's band?
Mhm.
Um, it had a picture of a red flower on the
Yeah,
cover.
that with the WDR orchestra and John Von Ohlen on drums and Roy
And there
Hargrove.
was one song where she, I forget what song.
I
It
have
was
the
sweet.
feeling, I had the
Well,
feeling.
that one. The
Mhm.
first time I heard that and the last word of the whole thing, I kind of knew what she was going to say, but it hit me so hard, that last word,
Mhm.
oh my God,
Yeah.
that blew me away. But also there was some swing. I think it was da ba bo be de do ba ba,
Sunday.
right?
Yeah, Sunday.
And the introduction was had to be 16 bars or something. And you
Mhm.
could hear the band was kind of ready to start the chart. And she was like, nope, I'm not doing it. Oh my God. That was so great. Maybe that's why I like long intros, because you have the band, the
Right.
band is creating this beautiful palette,
Mhm.
and yeah, instead of, 4 bars and then me. Oh gosh. Um, so let's see. So you did talk about that quality of humility and professionalism and commitment. Um, Seriously, and I think I'm a little weepy because of the whole week. I went over to Jen and I saw a lot of things, and it was an interesting experience. I haven't been to Jen for a long, long time. For those of you listening, it's the Jazz Educator Network conference, and it was in New Orleans, and it was an interesting layer of things. I wonder if you go through this because you've been to so many of these conferences over the years. It's just like a layer of things happening. Of course, seeing old friends, which is always a great. And then besides your own performance and contribution, seeing what's going on. And there's so many different points of view that are reflected. Like for one thing that was amazing was Ted Nash presented his movie. I think it's called Resonencia. Are you familiar with that
Just,
project?
I'm familiar that he did it. I'm not familiar
Yeah.
with the project. Yeah.
Well, briefly, it was he went to Cuba. I think it was a year or two ago, and for a week, and took these small number of kids who have been going to the National Music School for classical, but never studied jazz really. Took them and brought them through a week of composition and improvising. And then at the end of the week, they all performed. And I mean, when I say composition, they arranged for, you know, quite a number of people. And um, it was incredible. But not only that, at the end, he was talking to the students, and he he had to stop at one point because he was in tears.
Mm.
It was that meaningful for him. And so I think that's where I'm at today after the whole week. I feel very emotional about what what is possible through this music form to bring to humans, I guess.
Hmm.
or your cat, whatever. But I mean, maybe the cat is going to be moved too. But so that's why, again, like I said, because of that modern jazz quartet thing, the humility and the respect and the, as you said, the professionalism, sophisticatedness, and the subtleness of all of that that blends and hangs out in the quality of music. I mean, that is so momentous to me. And so talking to you brings this up again because, as I say, like over the years of what I've seen you do, this is what you represent to me as well.
Oh, thank you. Subtlety is one of the things that I became aware of pretty early because I enjoyed piano players. I hated piano myself. I had to take piano lessons. I didn't like playing it, but I loved hearing it played properly. And obviously, I've worked with a lot of terrific piano players, the best. And
Yeah,
um, and so coming up from the big bands, you have to sort of put some of that away when you're playing with a piano trio. So things like Oscar Peterson didn't tell me this, but he had a great line. Ed Thigpen told me that when Ed first joined the group, he turned around to Ed on the first night and said, "Put your left hand in your pocket," meaning we need some more subtlety, which Ed laughed about, and it was like, boy, what a great line. I told somebody that recently and they were offended. So I mean, times have changed of what you can say to people. But yeah, subtlety in the music, I think sometimes we don't get that until we're older, and we're more confident in our playing and we're not afraid to show some of the subtlety, the nuance, because that's how we're feeling about the music. This is my feeling at this time. This is what I want to offer you. You came to hear me
yeah.
play, and I'm in the right frame of mind of what I want to do, and I'm going to offer it to you. And let's listen to this together.
I heard a beautiful group at Jen. It was the Cal Arts group.
Mm-hmm.
It was gorgeous. I mean, it was so, it had everything, but there was a very high level quality. There was space, listening, dynamics. It was really, truly gorgeous. Those guys were great students. And I've been seeing Christian Newman a lot this year. He's a wonderful player, and
Mm-hmm.
he's so joyous, you know, kind of like a Billy Higgins. It's so fun to play. It like every moment it's like, wow, yeah, that's great. He's a lovely player.
Mm-hmm.
So I do want to ask you, Taylor. I see your questions. Thank you. I'm just I want to get going a little bit before I approach them. Um, so um, yeah, I wanted to ask you as an overview. So you first went the big band route, is that correct? And then,
Yeah. Yeah, I left Indiana University after 2 years. Got a job offer to go with the Tommy Dorsey Band
oh,
under the direction of Murray McEachran. Stayed on 9 months, and then Lionel Hampton hired me off of that band, and then that was 3 months, and then Monty Alexander hired me with John Clayton, and we were together for 2 years.
ooh,
And then I went with Woody Herman's band, was going to stay on for a year and stayed 6 months. And Ray Brown hired me to come out to LA and join the LA Four when Shelly Manne left the group.
uh,
So I've kind of been up and down, around big band, then back on the Basie band in the 80s and
yeah,
played with Ella in 84. And so it's kind of up and down with me. I didn't want to be pigeonholed as either a big band drummer or a small group drummer. I felt like, if you serve the music properly, you could play anything you wanted.
yeah. And of course, two of the biggest, um, I guess not biggest, two of the, I don't know, things that come into mind as well are the orchestra with John Clayton and also your trio.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
So,
I still have the bad habit going. I can't decide a small group or big band.
So how did the orchestra come about?
Well, John and I met at Indiana University in 1972, and
Yeah.
we started playing together immediately, became best friends, and both had the same vision of what we wanted to do, listen to the same type of music, and there were very good bands at that time in the early '70s. Thad Jones, Mel Lewis was certainly a an inspiration, excuse me, for us,
Mm,
but
yeah.
Basie band, Woody Herman, those had always been Duke Ellington, those had been my favorite bands, and John's as well. And so he hadn't started writing yet, but he was interested in it. But he was a hell of a bass player when he came to Indiana at 19 years old. He'd known Ray Brown before he came to Indiana, and so we were all sort of like, wow, here's this is a real thing here, you know. So, but that gave me courage that he thought I played okay, that maybe I could do this, you know, that I wanted to do for a living. Maybe it was possible, and maybe we could do it together. How do we want to do it? Well, the Monty Alexander Trio was one way, and then while we were with Monty, we were talking about a big band and should we do something like this? Because I've always felt very natural in a big band. I've felt very natural in a piano trio. Those are my two strong points, I think, more than a quintet drummer or a nonet drummer or whatever. So we focused on that and how do we want to go about this? And he said, well, I just won this competition and I'm going to be the principal bassist in the Amsterdam Philharmonic. So I'm going to be in Amsterdam for 5 years. And, you know, I'm going to work on writing there. And he kept sending me cassettes of student bands that he was writing for. And all the time studying Quincy and Robert Farnon and Mandel and honing his craft and all of the Basie Rangers too. And then he went on the Basie band before moving to Holland, and there it was all laid out for him. You know, all the Neil Hefti and Frank Foster and Ernie Wilkins and all those great arrangements in the book. And he learned from that, and he actually wrote his first arrangement for the Basie band. And the one that worked was Blues for Stephanie, which is still in a lot of
Uh,
collegiate and high school libraries, and we still play it. I play it with the trio, in fact. So that began his journey of writing, and he said, "You know, I hear what you do with the writing, and so we need to do this together. When I come back to LA, let's think about starting a band." So he came back to LA in '85, and Jeffrey Clayton, the late Jeffrey Clayton, our brother, knew everyone in LA because John and I had been out on the road. I didn't have a place to live until 1978 when Ray Brown and Bud Shank and Laurindo Almeida moved me to LA, and then I finally could get off the bus. So Jeffrey lived here his whole life, so he knew George Bohannon and Snooky Young and Bobby Bryant and Thurman Green and Oscar Brashear and all, you know, he said these are the people we need to get. These are the kind of people we need to play the music we love and we have in mind as three leaders. So Jeffrey's really responsible for the personnel,
mm.
with a couple of exceptions. And then we got together at the Hyatt on Sunset for our first rehearsal.
Oh,
Ozzy
wow.
Cadena was running the room then, and we said, "Yeah, come on in and rehearse." So we had a daytime rehearsal and played our first gig there. And we have 19 pieces in the big band, and I think we outnumbered the audience on our first night. But we were off and running, so that's how it all came about.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's very cool to know. Yeah. I didn't know that information. That's great. So, and then it's been going ever since. How often do you guys play now?
Well, we play when the right jobs come up. You know, none of us are a fan of giving anybody in the band $25 to come and play the music. You know, we have a lot of respect for the players in the band. We weren't treated like that in bands, and so they're all pretty good paying jobs. And we present the orchestra in the light that we would like to present it.
Yeah.
We just played in Toronto for Oscar Peterson's centennial
Mm.
celebration, and a suite that he composed that John actually finished. Kelly Peterson,
Oh,
Oscar's widow, asked John to finish it, and it's
wow.
the Africa Suite, and we performed it several
Mm.
times. We did it at SF Jazz last year.
Yeah.
We played at the Manchester Craftsman's Guild in October. So the things it's not we're not on the bus doing one nighters like the old big bands did, but every time we work, it's the right gig.
Yeah,
It's the right concert. It's the right setting.
that's really good. I remember being in Japan one year, and who was the band? I can't remember who the band was. Anyway, it was it's just like it was so hokey, but it had some really good players in it, like old school good players. But those guys, man, and they were getting up in years. They were like on the train, and the promoter's idea of food was like these, the little Japanese sandwiches, on white bread, it's like, are you serious, man? This
Mhm.
is like, no, no, that is wrong.
And Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Yeah. Um, yeah, I have to defer back to a little some one comment you quickly made. So you mentioned that you were more of a, besides big band, more of a trio player than a quartet or nonet player, right?
hmm hmm
And could you tell me the difference in that?
Um, the difference are really the similarities between big band and trio, and I realized that many, many years later that the reason I was drawn to that, um, I set goals of people I wanted to play with. Oscar Peterson, Ray Brown, um, Count Basie Orchestra, and Woody Herman were my four goals. And I
Wow.
had others growing up, but it sort of got narrowed down to those four when I was 18 and 19 years old, excuse me. And then later on, maybe just 20 years ago, it just dawned on me that the Count Basie Orchestra and the Oscar Peterson Trio were so similar in how they were run. There's an introduction, the ensemble plays the melody, then there might be a send off for the soloist. After the soloist, there's an interlude maybe into the next soloist. And then after that soloist, there's a shout chorus. And then you go back to the melody for the recapitulation. And most of the time you play the intro for the outro. And it made perfect sense to me that if I was anticipating the next move as a drummer, that's usually what was going to happen without being predictable, because there'd always be a little twist, but at
Yeah,
least your antenna were out for what you thought might be next.
yeah,
And nine times out of 10, you were right that was kind of the, dare I say, formula of or concept of how both of those bands, most of their music that I loved was arranged.
yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I get that. Totally.
Whereas quartet, quintet took me a long time uh, to really go in to get into Blue Note. First of all, Blue Note records at that time were released for a short time, and then you couldn't get them. I missed the period where they were available
Oh,
until they came out in Japan in the 80s for $45 a CD. And then it was like, well, wait a minute, man. Can I get these any cheaper than this? And how am I going to figure this out? And then buying old LPs to do it. But the reason I wasn't really drawn to that initially is because growing up as a rudimental snare drummer, I just played snare drum for 5 years. My teacher wouldn't let me have a drum set until he felt like I was ready. And
wow.
I felt like I was ready after 6 months, of course, but you had to prove to him that you were ready by winning a contest. So I was too young to enter in a contest. I started when I was 8.
Oh,
So you couldn't enter the contest until you were 12. So I entered the contest and I won it. So then I could get a drum set. So a lot of the
ah,
technique that I have is still based on that early military rudimental snare drumming. And a lot of the drummers that I heard in quintets and quartets at the time were a little sloppier than that. I was leaning more toward Buddy Rich and Louis Bellson, Ed Shaughnessy, cleaner drumming, cleaner, precise rudimental drumming, and the marching band. I came up in drum corps type playing. So to me, a lot of those Blue Note records, stupidly now, the rolls were sloppy. It's like,
ah.
man, they can't play a clean roll. And I wasn't hearing what was happening at the end of Art Blakey's snare drum roll, where the whole roof went off the place when he came out of the roll. I'm just listening to the roll going, man, that's pretty sloppy. Can't he play at 10 years old? At 10 years old, I'm gonna, so it took me a while, my teen years to get to the quartet playing, sextet playing. Um, and then I loved it to the point where I had a lesson with Philly Joe Jones in 1975. So it wasn't that I just abandoned all of that and just went, no, no, I'm a Count Basie and an Oscar Peterson guy. I mean, I really did get what they were doing. It just took me a little longer than I think some people to go into that.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting path. Um, Probably, I'm guessing that sometimes people want to know what was your best experience? What was one of your best experiences? You probably just have so many that, almost every experience probably is great. Um, so, but what I would like to know is, were there any significant um, communications from your the band, like I would guess from band leaders to you, that perhaps put you on a really good fork in the road, or you know what I'm saying? Were there any kind of significant comments, significant things that you can remember that you could share?
Um, yeah, at 19, uh, actually, yeah, going on the Tommy Dorsey band. And I couldn't wait to get out of Indiana University. It was like, man, I just want to be on a band bus. I don't want to be a timpanist. There wasn't a jazz drum instructor there. I didn't make a band my first semester.
Oh.
I got in the second band, the third band my second semester, which was fine. We were playing Basie charts on Oliver Nelson, so I loved it. Some guy named Peter Erskine got the top band. We were freshmen together. So go figure. Uh, so I was really excited to get out of school, and I'm on the Tommy Dorsey band. First night, got all the hair going, I got the blonde fro going and all, and I'm just flailing and having a great time on Opus 1, da-doo ba doo boom, ba-doo ba doo doo bop, ba-doo ba doo doo. And it's a dance, we're playing some Elks Club somewhere, and I'm just having at it, Elvin Jonesing and like crashing and flailing, and Murray McEachran turned around in the middle of the tune, and I'm up on a riser, and he just hit my bass drum, top of my bass drum once, and he leaned in and he said, "Just play pretty for the people." And the dance floor was full, and that was a big lesson for me. So serve the music you're playing. We're playing Tommy Dorsey's original book. You're not going to reinvent this. So just play what the music needs. That was a pretty good moment of like that. And
Yeah.
and other moments that were just breathtaking, not from a leader point of view, but when you first started to ask a question, playing the Montreux Festival in 1976 with Monty Alexander, we were the surprise. The opening band was Thad Jones' Mel Lewis Orchestra. We were second, and then Stan Getz Quartet with Billy Hart and Joanne Brackeen and Clint Houston were going to wind up the night. So we were kind of the intermission band. Nobody knew of us then. And Thad and Mel came out, and of course, I'd known Mel by that time, and was so inspired by standing backstage, watching him play, and I just couldn't wait to play. And Monty Alexander is like a prize fighter. If you put him on a festival, nobody's going to knock him out. He hits the stage, and it's full on, and you might as well go home after he's done. I mean, and the whole band was like that. We just sort of levitated during the whole concert, and people were standing up clapping on the beat, every quarter note for most of that concert. It's on a record called Montreux Alexander, which was
Wow. Write that
my
down.
first record I was ever on.
Oh.
And he went into Battle Hymn of the Republic, and you could have it was pretty wild. It was a great
Wow.
memory. But going to the hall where we played, I'm in a tuxedo in July, in in Montreux and sweating, walking past this beautiful lake with this beautiful mountain, snow-capped mountain in the middle of it. And I just stopped and I turned and looked at it, and then tears just started
Hmm.
flowing down my face. As I was, here I am, kid from Indiana, 30,000 people from the town I'm in. What the hell am I doing here looking at this beauty? I've never experienced this. I mean, I've seen a lot of cornfields, but I've never seen this. And it really just got to me like, man, this is where you wanted to be, and now you get to play. It's not like you have to go play or I'm scared to play. I get to play the Montreux Jazz Festival. And
Wow.
I think that was a huge moment for me of yeah, maybe you do belong here.
Wow. That's really beautiful. Thank you. Okay. Hi, Amy Nolte. Um, and Eric Goldstein. Hello. I'm going to look at some of Taylor's questions because he's a good question asker. And and okay, let's see. But also he asks questions that don't take a moment to think about. But let's see if I can get a relatively one in the middle. Um, 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 okay, well, that's pretty cool. I have a feeling I know the answer, but anyway, um, he's an alumni of North Texas, and the big band, of course, is a huge part there. And there's a huge emphasis on how to work in an ensemble in this fashion. He's a guitarist, by the way. There is a benefit, but also there's the question about whether big band will remain sustainable going forward. Do you think that big band has a lasting effect in schools? And do you think it should be continually emphasized in jazz education?
I'm not a jazz educator. I've never been hired as a jazz educator.
You haven't.
I have never been hired as a jazz educator.
Okay.
I've never taught in a university
Oh,
by choice. And I share information with serious students who want the information and they can do what they want with it. I think for us to sit and say, uh, will this continue? Will jazz die? I don't waste any time on that. And I think it is wasting time. If you love the music, play it. Figure out a way to play it. Venues are going to keep closing. Ray Brown and I had this conversation in 1978, and he said, I'm doing the Merv Griffin show now for studio work because clubs are not that good. If you work in the clubs, you get paid very little. But I got to play this music. I love this music. And before you knew it, a few months later, he was off the Griffin show, out with his own quartet, then out with his trio. I mean, it's just ebb and flow of the business that
yeah,
it's up and down. And big bands in 1940 are not like big bands today. So it's really difficult to generalize a large ensemble um, because Duke Ellington's band, you would play Duke Ellington's music differently than you play Maria Schneider's music,
yeah,
differently than you play Thad Jones' music. So there's not one style of big band, it's just the number of people in it. And
yeah,
so the music changes whoever's leading or writing for that band. So as long as people, my answer is people who love the music and have to play it are going to continue because they don't have a choice. When this music bites you, that bug, that's a lasting effect, and you don't have a choice. You know that. You're a vocalist. You have to sing.
yeah,
You also get to sing.
yeah,
So you make yourself uh, uh, in the to get the opportunity for that to happen. But I don't. I think all of the analyzing is for people that really are not going to continue doing this. Or and I'm not saying Taylor is a woe is me type person, but why are we thinking about it instead of picking up the guitar or the horn and playing? Let's go after it. Where's my next gig? I want a 12-piece band. I want a 9-piece band. And then go after that. And so it's not for us to say, I mean, how many students are
Yeah.
still going to North Texas for big band? So there's your answer. They want to be there and learn it. So, but that's
Yeah.
North Texas band is different than Clayton-Hamilton band. So I mean, it's really I don't know how to answer the question, even though I've tried. But there isn't just one style of big band, or just because you have 20 people in a band, it's a big band. You can have 20 people in a band, have four electric guitars, an electric bass, and a
Yeah.
harmonica and a synthesizer, and it's not a big band. It has 20 people in a large ensemble.
Yeah. No, actually, that's a good answer. And I mean, I think it's a language, and that's why it's good to have it in a school because it teaches you the language. Where else are you going to learn how to play the flute in a group part like that? Where?
Mm,
In school,
mm.
because you don't just wander through life when you're growing up, and there's bands all around with charts. So yeah, um,
I think as long as students are signing up for it, I think there's
yeah,
your answer. There's an interest,
yeah,
or and unless you get the dean of a school who says, I think big bands are dead, and they just wipe out the program, then that's a different story. But the people who want that experience are going to find it in whatever institution is offering that.
yeah, yeah. Amy Nolte has a funny question.
Okay.
Miss Smarty Pants. If you can, I want to know when Jeff and John Clayton came up with that little trick they do where instead of hitting the one at the top of the form, they hit two hard. It's my favorite.
Oh, probably one night when we got lost, and then it's like, oh, maybe we should leave that in. Um, back to your Carmen interruption thing. It's like sometimes we just breathe, and my sticks up are in the air, and I don't want to hurry down for the downbeat, and John's watching me, and we're like brothers, so we think alike, we breathe alike, and so that's how a lot of that. That's not the only trick we have, Amy. You're not paying enough attention.
There you go, Avery. Sometime you'll have to ask him what are some of the other tricks. Um, so let's talk about your trio. And was there a time that you specifically started the Jeff Hamilton trio, or did it just kind of come and go like your fluctuating gigs?
No, I had a manager in the 1994 that was also the Clayton-Hamilton orchestra manager, and it was suggested to me that I was playing with older people, and did I just want to continue to be the sideman drummer for these people until they didn't play anymore, and what was I going to do after that? And I'd never really looked at that. And the second question was, do you think what are your two strongest formats? And I said, big band and piano trio. They said, well, you already have the big band with John Clayton. Why don't you have your own trio? And I had never thought about that. And then I started thinking, okay, I've been in Monty Alexander's trio, Ray Brown trio with Gene Harris, Ray Brown trio with Benny Green, played with Hank Jones. I played with Jay McShann. I played with Teddy Wilson. I played with all these great piano players. And as much as I enjoyed that, and Oscar Peterson, I don't want to leave the great Oscar Peterson. I loved Oscar Peterson. Um, what would I bring to that if it was my own group? What would be different? And I went through each group, and I had definite ideas about what I wanted to do. I wanted to hear the drums more involved musically. There are not very many drum solos in my trio. When I play with somebody else, I solo more than I do than in my trio. And I wanted to weave and interact the drums more in the arrangements in my trio. And that's it's not kind of, it's sort of a stamp of what my trios are.
Yeah,
And they're arranged, but there's enough freedom in them, arranged like a big band, but there's enough freedom within that to change it every night, uh, to send me off in a solo, and I in turn want to send it right back to the band musically instead of 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're back in. I don't like those kind of solos. And personally, I don't like to play them.
Yeah.
So how can I get that musically done in my trio? So that was the outset of why I wanted to get a trio. And I think the trio does, the people that give me the comments are like, oh, it's just a retread of Ray Brown's trio. It's just a retread of Oscar. Well, you haven't really listened well enough. That's
Yeah.
that's my answer to people that say, well, why does a drummer have to lead a trio? Well, you're not listening, are you?
Oh, God. That's a funny question.
Yeah,
God damn it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's yeah, that's a great concept. And so I know Tamir has played with you for many years. Was he the
Yes.
first pianist or
24 years. He joined in 2000. And
4
the
years?
trio
Wow.
before was the first pianist that I selected because I'd worked with him with Ernestine Anderson, and we had an instant connection of where the beat was, the feel. We had the same kind of feeling. And I think he'd been listening to me a little bit before that. And Ernestine, Ray Brown was booking Ernestine at the time, and Ray Brown put the band together. And so after the first night that I played with him on an Ernestine Anderson gig at the Loa in Santa
Mm.
Monica on Pico,
Yeah,
Ray Brown's
yeah.
club, I just walked up to Larry and I said, I'm going to get a band together one of these days, and you're going to be the piano player. We need to play together more often.
This was Larry.
Larry Fuller, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Larry Fuller. And so 94, we did our first record. It's called It's Hamilton Time. And a
Wow.
young bassist that was John Clayton's student, Jesse Murphy, was the bassist on that CD. And then about a year after that, Lynn Seaton, my rhythm pal in Woody Herman's band when we were on the band together, he came into the trio and stayed for 4 or 5 years, I think. And then Tamir Hendelman came in 2000. Ray Brown hired Larry Fuller out of my band, so I had to find a piano player right away. A month before going to Japan, and I
That's
heard Tamir at Monteleone's one night, and I said I didn't know who he was, and I said
yeah.
I need a piano player, so that's how that happened.
Wow.
Then he
That's
stayed for 24 years.
Tamir, just as a sidetrack here, Tamir, um, I had a gig at Ca del Sol in well, around Studio City.
Right.
And Tamir came in. Well, he called, no, oh, he called me. He was new in town. He called me. He's smart, man. He called all the singers. Who told him to do that, man? But he was smart. And he came in, and then we started working together
Well,
for a
he's so
long, long
good
time.
at it. I mean, he knows what he's good at.
He's
He's a
so
great,
good,
yeah, he's a
man.
great accompanist for a singer. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, Tamir is just, yeah, he's so great. Anyway, that was just a quick little aside, but oh, no, but I have one funny story. Mike Lang,
Mhm.
you know, rest in peace. Um, so he and his dear, I don't know his last name, Frederick something. He was a classical pianist, a great classical pianist.
Okay.
They came in one night to Ca del Sol, and it was one of those nights where nobody was in the place except Tamir and me, you know, and the bartenders. And so they came in, a little drunk. Mike went to sleep. Too bad. It would have been fun if he had joined. But Frederick and Tamir sat down at the piano together and improvised. And I was the only audience besides the bartenders. It was an experience I'll never forget. It was
No,
gorgeous,
no.
absolutely gorgeous. Yeah.
Well, I hope
So
Mike, he didn't know what he missed.
yeah, well, I tried to rub it in, but Mike, I love Mike. So yeah, uh, so
A
you're the
word
bass
about
player.
Mike Lang on our first Clayton-Hamilton record. Um, the pianist in the band did not show up, and it was the rehearsal the day before the recording, and so I said, "Well, we can't trust this to not show up at the rest." So I called Mike and I said, "Can we bring the book over and have you take a look at it? We're recording tomorrow." John and I took the book over to Mike's house, and he looked through everything. He says, "Yeah, you know, Mike was." He says, yeah, okay, you're right." Came in and aced it. It was like he'd been in the band since it started, and was
Yeah,
just phenomenal. And it wasn't a studio player coming in and, just
no, I
reading this.
know.
I mean, he really got into what the band was doing and loved it. And always from then on, he says, "When are you guys going to call me to be in the band again?" Mike Lang was an incredible musician.
He was, that, and that was really a highlight of him. He obviously he was a studio player because he could read his butt off, but
Mhm.
also he was a player who, when he could read it and make it totally real and there
Yeah.
in that moment. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I never really heard a lot of talk about other people doing that. I think he was, really special at that,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
He was such a great guy.
Mhm.
So getting back to your trio, um, so you had Lynn Seaton, and then uh, and then who?
Christoph Ludi came in also in
Oh, and for a
2000.
long time, right?
And yeah, 22, 23 years. Yeah. And also in the big band. So that was our rhythm section in the big band, also in the Clayton-Hamilton
Yeah.
Orchestra. And we did several records. I loved that trio. I thought we accomplished what we set out to do. And then Christoph decided to not play anymore, and he's happy as can be. He moved to Utah, and he and his wife moved to Utah, and he retired from
Wow.
bass playing, and is probably the happiest he's ever been. Maybe we should take a lesson from him about
I think about that a lot.
that. So, then John Hamer came in to the trio in 2018, and this is how gigs happen. John Hamer had been a counselor at the Port Townsend Jazz Camp that John Clayton was the head of at that time,
Yeah.
and Hamer was one of John Clayton's students and fellow teachers there at the camp. And I was supposed to be up there with my trio, and Christoph couldn't make the gig. And I said, "Well, we still have to do the trio concert." So I thought, what are the bass? Clayton's up there, but he's got his hands full. I know he could do it. What other bass player? I thought of John Hamer, who was there. So I called him and I said, "Do you want to play my trio set with Tamir?" And he said, "I'd love to." We played a couple of sets together up there in previous years and really had a great connection. And I said, I'm going to send you 12 audio recordings. There's no charts of these things anymore. We might have sketched out things in the beginning, but they've evolved from that. I'll send
Yeah.
you 12 audio, or I'll just tell you the tunes and you can find them. And he did. He memorized 12 tunes, and we had 20 minutes to talk it over before the gig. That is on YouTube. His first concert with the trio is at Port Townsend with John Hamer
Oh.
on YouTube. And if you see that concert, you'll see why he's in the band to this day.
Uh, I'm gonna write that down. Um, yeah.
And then Tamir's schedule was getting very busy with a lot of things, working with Tierney Sutton a lot in his own trio. And so we were running into some booking issues of when we could work. And so I decided to try another piano player that I'd had my eye on for quite some time and who let me know he wanted to play with me for quite some time, was Tadataka Uno. And he came in at the beginning of 25, in January 25, and loves being in the trio. He lives in Japan and said, "I will get to the trio gigs. I want to be in the trio that badly." So that's the kind of person you want in your trio, that will do whatever it takes to get there for your gigs. So and we just recorded it.
What part of Japan does he live in?
He lives in up in the Sapporo area.
What part? Yeah.
Sapporo, yeah.
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah.
so we recorded at the Memphis Drum Shop live in, I want to say, June maybe, and the CD is coming out. I just got the advance copies 2 days ago, and it will be released the 27th for everyone to be able to hear it. It's called A New Chapter, Jeff Hamilton Trio.
I'm gonna write that down. Just so people have it. A new chapter
Hmm.
is, uh, whoops, Jeff's Trio's newest
27th of January will be
and
available.
um, and trio on January 27th.
Right.
27th is the release. Okay. Um, oh, that's very interesting. Cool.
Actually,
Uh,
we did that ballad that you talked about Carmen doing. We
oh,
did,
really?
yeah, the Roger Kellaway ballad.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
that is a really beautiful song. I've had the feeling I've been here before.
Hmm.
What and great lyrics.
Hmm.
I forget who wrote the lyrics. Um,
Um, ha.
was
I
it
know because I just had to send it into the record company. I always was my first is Arthur Hamilton, but that's not right. It's
No, I don't think
uh,
so. I'm gonna look in my song list.
oh, the Bergmans, the Bergmans. Yeah,
What? Wait a minute. Okay, I gotta just pull up these lyrics again because uh, I mean I probably remember them. These are the kind of lyrics that you learn and they just soak into you.
right.
But I have the feeling I've been here before. So more often than I choose to tell, and though the view's been twice as clear before, by now I know it pretty well.
Uh,
Those telltale things you try to let go by are old familiar signs. I know the smile. Oh, it just makes me want to cry. I know the smile, the look. I know the book. What's more, I've even read between the lines. Oh, what? I've seen the summer turn to fall before the joke November makes of May. The times I thought I had it all before, then bit by bit it slipped away. Though on the losing side, I mean, this is incredible.
yeah.
Though on the losing side, that carpet ride is always worth a try. I've seen the magic disappear before. I've missed the boat and shed the tear before. The only news when you've been here before. And this, I knew it was coming when I heard her sing it, but I was, is who will say goodbye. Oh,
Right.
that really, this is a super incredible song.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful musically too. Beautiful. And
Our goal was to get the sentiment and the feeling of it being sung. And of course, there are no lyrics in our instrumental version, but we wanted to get that across, the beauty of the whole thing across to the audience. And I have to say that we performed this at the recent Percussive Arts Society convention in Indianapolis for 4,000 percussionists, all ages and educators, and you could hear a pin drop during
really,
this ballad. And well, actually, through the whole performance, they were very respectful, which did my heart good because a lot of percussionists always take a lot of bashing about, oh yeah, it's just show and tell and drums and all. It was an unbelievable experience of 4,000 marimba players, timpanists,
wow.
drum set players, orchestral players, drum corps players. They got what this song is about. If you let it,
Yeah.
you can feel the lyric without even knowing what it is.
The melody is
Yeah.
really
Roger
lyrical.
Kellaway.
Yeah. It's so, so, so beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. It's a really beautiful song. Thank you for reminding me of it. By the way, there's somebody from Switzerland who says that you are a god.
Oh,
There's no one swinging harder than Jeff. Monty Alexander's Montreux Alexander performance 76 should be the roadmap for great shuffle. Hello from Switzerland.
nice. Was there a name?
Well, it's at Fast Peak. Let me see if I can dig that out.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't see a real name.
Okay.
Pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Um,
just we just spoke of that performance before.
yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yep, see, those things. The things that you remember really
Yeah.
are significant. I've been let's see. Well, just touching on this briefly, I don't want to get, you know, weepy and stuff.
Too late.
I know it is too late. Oh, Urs Wiesendenker.
Okay.
I don't know if I pronounced that Urs
All
correctly.
right.
URS Wiesen, Wiesen, and then danger.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, Urs.
Decent Donger. All right.
Yeah. Um, so, but um, I'm going to try and reach out into my broad thinking about this and kind of pull it in a little bit more. Um, and this is why I like doing these interviews, really. I like to get people's personal point of view on what the heck is going on in life with you, with others, with just in general. How do we move through this life, you know? Because I think people need to hear this, you know. And I mean, I started this the first day of the pandemic.
Hmm.
So it was, and then I did it 6 days a week. It was great because people had nothing to do, so they 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 tapped in a lot. But I guess one of the questions I have is, in this time period of history, it's difficult to not be distracted by what is going on the planet. Let's just put it that way. And and uh, here we are, committed to making music and all the things that we've been talking about. Committed to quality, putting quality vibrations out into the air, um, taking responsibility for what we can do and sharing and all the beautiful things that we're talking about. Let's see. I mean, there's so many questions I could ask about that, but uh, let's just say, just you can change your answer as you see fit. But I'm just curious. Do you think about um, your creativity and drive and commitment for your creativity in regards to what's happening now on the planet? As far as, I mean, just for instance, it doesn't have to be, but a responsibility to do this so that this doesn't seem so bad, or it's really all about this anyway, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah. From the beginning, uh, as I mentioned before, I love playing. I love playing the drums. I've dedicated an entire life to it. I've made sacrifices to be able to do that. And I'm not regretful about sacrifices. That just points to the direction of how much it means to me to play this music and to serve this music properly. It takes 100% of your focus and dedication to do so. Anything outside of that is a distraction. You can be sympathetic and care about what's going on around it, but it can't be the 100% focus on the distraction. John Clayton and I have always said our answer to students who say, well, how do you make the big time? How do you get your first break? How do you get an endorsement? How do you get the girls? How do you get there are all these other reasons that people want to get into music and think it's a career that they can get in. The people that are successful playing music are people who have to do it. and that's all they focus on. John and I never sat down and said, if we go this direction, we could make a lot of money. We
Yeah.
just wanted to play the greatest music with the greatest players that we could play and continue our focus doing that. And a sideline of that is you never know who's in the audience providing the next opportunity for you. If you show up at 80% of what you can do, they can turn around and walk out and not ever want to hear you again. If they leave the club and experience, or the concert hall, whatever, and experience 100% of you meaning what you do, loving what you do, and sharing your passion, then they're going to remember that, and the next opportunity is going to happen. Everything will happen from that based on how good you are, how much time you've spent on being good and the best you can be, and how good you are at sharing your music with others. And do you care about a lot of different things? They can feel that in your music. There's so many times people come up and said, I had you on my headphones during my chemotherapy
Mm,
treatment, and I just played your drum solos, and I envisioned the drum solos beating away the cancer
mm.
cells. And when somebody shares that with you, it that goes beyond the realm of what you think you're reaching, or what my point is, I have no idea that music is going that far. Whatever I'm doing is reaching that many people, and that's not, I didn't set out to do that. All I'm saying is I'm being true to what I believed in playing. I love the music I play, and I want to invite you into what I'm doing every time I sit down to the drums. I'm going to offer it to you, and whatever you take from that is up to you, but I have to be 100% focused on that when I'm doing that. Therefore, the distractions cannot take over the 100% of what I do.
That's really nice to hear. Really nice.
Just what I've always believed.
Well, you know, yeah, it's just, it kind of reminded me a little bit of when I was younger, I read this book, The Four Directions or something, Four Arrows. It's a book about Indian information, American Indian, and it talked about traditionally there are the four directions, uh, and each direction, north has an animal that represents a certain thing, and so on. And I think the east is the hawk, I think, and so the hawk has these abilities, but the mouse is, I think, maybe in the south, and the mouse has abilities that the hawk necessarily doesn't have. And
Yeah.
then so they have they they used to travel, the Indians used to travel, and not being able to speak each other's dialect and language, they would have their shields. They called them medicine shields. And they would paint on the shield these picture and color information about who they were. And if you met me and you saw my shield, you would know what I needed, what you could give me.
Hmm.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Wow. I just thought that was great. So that's kind of what it reminded me of. It's like because I and I think if everybody could do what they do with passion and commitment, and as well as they can, that in itself is a gift.
Mhm.
To people observing or being around, or touching on it, and that's really how we get to help mankind anyway, right? Is be ourselves the best we can be, and so we can share, like the Indians. It's like, oh, you need this, you take that, you know, and I'll take that from you. It's great. It's like a share vibration. Sorry, now you're getting into Cathy's universe. Sorry. It's deeper than that, too, but I won't go there. Um,
But I do have a flight this weekend.
yeah, you could do the flight. um, let's see. Well, okay. I'll go. Oh, that's not it, Taylor. The four agreements. No, this is
Taylor needs to book a private session with you or else pay for a drum lesson with me.
you should hear the questions he asks.
Yeah,
Sometimes
what,
they're like
how much did he pay to get on this thing anyway?
a lot of money. A lot of money. Okay, let's see. Well, Taylor, I think that last question that you had, actually, Jeff just answered. He said, "What advice do you have for those in my generation? That's the most practical thing that all young artists need to consider if they're working on finding themselves in the world and how much society continually changes." I think you just answered that, really,
Yes,
too.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Let's cut Taylor off. I have a flight on the weekend.
In your trio, do all of you write music or arrange? Probably all of you arrange.
Yeah, we all contribute to the book, and I have invited that from the beginning.
Yeah,
The first few arrangements I came up with, uh, I I presented, I scribbled out. I play enough piano to arrange. I'm a bad arranger's piano,
yeah,
and I scribble out, and I'd hand it to them, and I go, now harmonically, if you hear something that would be a lot deeper than what I just came up with, please. If you hear a descending bass line here instead of ascending, yeah,
yeah,
everybody, we're a trio, so I want
yeah,
input. Generally, the person bringing the arrangement, or in some cases the composition, everybody presents it to the trio that way. Nobody comes in like this is the gospel and don't erase a note. That's I don't want that in my trio, and everybody understands it. But it starts with we need something in the book about right here,
yeah.
and I'd like the bass to play a melody, and this be the feature. So this happened in a van. Tamir was so great in on the road because we travel in a van with the upright bass and the drums in the van, and Tamir's in the middle bench, and I'm either driving or in the passenger seat, and Hamer or Ludi would drive, and we'd come together with a lot of arrangements. I said, I like Lullaby of the Leaves. We should do that. That's got a lot of possibilities that I think we can do. And I hear the pencil scratching, behind me on the row. And and by the time we got to the gig, we ran it down in the sound check.
Ah,
So that's the
yeah,
way a lot of things came about in the trio and do come about. I've asked Tadataka to contribute some original compositions because in learning from Monty Alexander and Ray Brown, you feature the strengths of everybody in your trio. You don't make them play what the band was playing before. I learned that when Benny Green came in the trio after Gene Harris. Ray didn't make him play everything in the book that Gene Harris played. He went to Benny's strengths, and we started playing music that was in that wheelhouse. The same thing with Monty Alexander.
yeah,
He goes to his other musicians and wants to play more Caribbean things. They play more Jamaican music. And with John Clayton and I, he played to our strengths, and he also brought us to Caribbean music to help our influence and our interest in it and ability in it. Because growing up in Indiana, I heard the limbo, and that was about it. So everybody in the trio, I want to play music that is in their wheelhouse. So that's where we're focused
yeah,
right now. We're not playing everything that we've played the last 24 years. There are things that just they don't.
yeah,
I don't want to. First of all, I don't want to keep playing them, and secondly, the second reason is that I want to see what this trio does. I want to see where we go
yeah,
musically. I want to give everybody enough room to settle into who they are. It's this trio is different than a lot of piano trios in the past, where it's been the piano player as a leader, the bass player and the drummer are sweeping the floor.
yeah,
I
yeah,
want three individuals that are contributing to the music, and that's the way I started this trio from the beginning. So
yeah.
That's why we all write, we all compose, we all have things to say about each other's arrangements, and they just keep evolving. I get a kick, you'll get a college student writing, said, I want to do your arrangement of such and such on my recital. Can you send me the lead sheet? Like, First,
No.
first of all, no, if I had one, no, you don't, there is no arrangement that's written down. We started with a sketch, but even that's different now. But don't be lazy, transcribe it,
Yeah, no shit.
you know. So that's what we had to do, drop the needle on the record behind it, So can you
Yeah,
see
we didn't have
it?
the major slowdowner, you know. We had to take all that, but we had to take that down and
Yeah,
listen again
yeah.
and again.
And
Yeah.
if these kids at North Texas State keep doing this, there won't be any big band at the school. Kidding, I'm kidding.
Speaking about that, I remember when I was taking down, I was in college and I took down like Red Top and Don't Get Scared and and like at first I remember listening to a line and thinking, there is no way in hell I am going to learn that line.
Hmm.
And then I would put it in the same spot and listen again. And about 5 times in, I'd start recognizing little bits. And then I'm embarrassed to say this, but it was true. I wrote it down and I knew I was writing it down wrong, except that I knew what I was writing down was,
Yeah.
so it was like, I don't care if the bar line is in the wrong place. I get it, I did it. And that's how I learned
Yeah.
those fast songs.
However it works.
Man. Um, did you spend any time in Boston?
Very little.
Yeah,
Uh, it just passing through usually. The first time was in '75, and Monty and John and I played at Paul's Mall, the Jazz Workshop in Paul's Mall, and
yeah.
we were the trio that week supporting Barney Kessel, and that's the first time I'd met Barney
Uh,
Kessel. And we did a quick sound check, and Barney took John and I to lunch and across the street, Copley, maybe to have lunch
yeah,
someplace,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that hotel across the street. And so on our break, I went around to the other club on the other side, whether it was Workshop
yeah,
or Paul's Mall.
yeah.
Sonny Rollins quartet was
Oh,
playing
wow.
with Michael Wolff on piano and
Oh,
Bob Cranshaw and Billy Hart. And it was
wow.
like, my goodness, what am I doing here, man? I'm on the other side of the wall, but I want to hear these guys. That was my first trip to Boston. I'm sorry, I went through on the Dorsey band playing some Elks Club somewhere in the area, I'm sure in
Yeah,
Boston.
yeah,
And but really, I haven't spent much time. We played Lulu's with
yeah,
the Ray Brown Trio in the LA Four. Played Scholars a couple of
yeah.
times. What's the other joint there? Near Harvard Square.
Um,
Uh, yeah, that one. The guy
yeah,
that ran it. You stay
I
in the
can't
hotel.
remember. Yeah.
You stay in
Oh,
the
the
same hotel.
hotel. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
But
well,
I would just
Scholars, I
uh,
think.
Scholars, and then there's another one. Anyway, not much, as you can tell. Just a week at a time, and that's about it.
Well, I want to say that the Jazz Workshop is where my modern jazz quartet thing happened.
Oh, great.
So I had been, coming up with my dad, going out on rehearsals with him and, flirting with the musicians, I was 5. And then I always joke that that's why I got into jazz, um, but that gig was the first gig that I chose to go to. My sister took me because I was too young, but that was my first choice to go to that modern jazz quartet. I don't know how I found that record, but anyway.
Huh,
So anyway, it was the Jazz Workshop, which was the smaller room.
right.
That was really nice. And when I came out to California, I was about 21. I had gone to Berkeley, um, and I got a job working as a waitress at Dante's, and Jake Hanna played there a lot at that time, and he was so nice. He would always say, "Hey, I know your father." Mike Siegel. I used to play with your father. It was really great. Jake Hanna. He was a wonderful drummer.
He's the funniest musician I've ever met in my life. And I miss him every day. I think of something he said and it just cracks me up. Incredible drummer, big influence on me.
You know who else was very funny though? Nick Ceroli.
Paroli. Yep. And
I
they were,
didn't
they,
understand how he wasn't a comedian. He was
I know.
so funny.
The first time I walked into Dante's, in 75, John and I had driven a Ford Econoline van from Miami, Florida to LA to play the Century Plaza Hong Kong bar. And the first night we got here, I was off and I went to Dante's and I was 21
Oh wow.
and I'm just standing at the corner of the bar and those two gentlemen were next to each other. John Hurd was there,
Yep.
just everybody in LA who was
Yeah.
Connie Condoli,
Yep.
everybody was at the bar hanging out and it was hysterical. I was in tears. I went back to my hotel room and I didn't keep a diary, but I wrote down every jazz musician that I was at the bar with that night. And I never said a word to anybody. I mean, it was a show. It was like a show. Just shut up and learn, kid. And Jake and Nick were holding court.
Oh God, they were so funny. I worked there for a year and a half as a waitress,
Yeah.
and actually started sitting in with people too because, I had been a singer my whole life. But
What year
yeah,
did you come out? What year was this you started working at
I
Dante?
came out. Actually, I came out after the summer of '75.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and yeah, That's where I met Ross Tompkins. I did a record with him, and um, yeah, Ross. He was a character, Ross
The
Tompkins.
Phantom.
Yeah, and the strange duo of Ross Tompkins and Marty Harris. What a
Yes.
strange friendship that was, you know? Oh my gosh. And yeah, so many people. I met Ted Green there, who I had known about Ted Green through Berkeley because when I went to Berkeley, it was mostly guitarists.
Right.
So, and I always had a thing for guitar. And when I was working, Ted came in to hear someone and he fainted. He was so sensitive, hearing wise, and I was looking over him when he woke up. And then I said, "Oh, you're Ted Green. I'd love to play sometime." And he said, "Okay." And little did I know that he did not play a lot in out.
Right.
He had a huge teaching thing, which he
Right.
charged like $10 a lesson for.
Right.
And so I put up like three little signs for our first gig at the Sound Room. When I got there, this was my first real gig in LA besides, just little casuals. There was no standing room. And it was me and Ted. And Ted, I was so young. I mean, we're probably around the same age, but I was so young that I didn't fully I didn't fully cognite that, you know, Te- Ted and I had been, of course, changing keys all through the songs because that was what Ted did, right? And so after I worked with Ted on my first gig, I screwed up so bad because I just didn't, you know, hello, no, it's not transposition in the middle of the song. Oh my God. But that was a really wonderful experience with Ted.
And the sound room, I forgot about that.
Paul Krybek has a list, Paul, he's so
Yeah,
funny. He has a
sure.
list of all the places that he could remember in LA.
Uh,
It's really a trip. Um, yeah. So, do you mind me asking how old you are? Are you 72 or
yeah,
something?
I'm 72. Yeah.
Me too. When's your birthday?
August 4th.
May 28th. I'm
All
older
right.
than you.
Right.
Yeah. Um, yeah, when I went to Berkeley, there was no vocal.
Yeah, I didn't even consider Berkeley at the time, in 71.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mostly guitar school, and
Yeah.
not they weren't playing what I was interested in at that time.
Yeah. But uh, was that when you went to school? You were already on the road, right?
I went to school in 71 at IU.
Oh, okay, you did. And so, yeah, I'm sure you mentioned this, but were you learning big band there, or were you
No,
playing?
I had already had big band experience in the college town, and in my hometown there was a college, Earlham College. It was a Quaker
Yeah.
school, and so they didn't have any Quaker drummers, I guess. So they came over to the high school and said, "Anybody want to be in the band?" And my high school band director said, "Take this kid out of my hair. I don't know anything about jazz." So I got to play in the college band at a college band when I was 15.
Right. You did mention that. So in college, what were you learning?
Timpani.
Oh, did you get a chance to use timpani after that?
Look at me.
Yeah, I guess not.
Apparently I was good at it, and I played in high school and studied with a classical instructor on formal marimba and timpani and legit snare drum, and
Yeah.
uh, because you had to get into music school at that point, you had to play all of those and piano, and at IU it was the largest music school at the time. There were 52 percussion majors alone,
Wow.
and no drum set instructor. And it's like, well,
Wow.
okay, I'm being told I need to go to school, but I know what I want to do. And I'd actually been accepted at Eastman School of Music by John Beck.
Oh,
I auditioned there the first time I'd ever flown, January of my junior year, and I
yeah.
auditioned for him. He said, "Stop! I've heard enough. You're one of our four freshmen that we're accepting this year. Take
Wow.
cancel all of your auditions." So I did, and passed the theory test. Met with the education director who went to school with my percussion teacher, and it's like, well, this is a shoe in. And because I needed financial aid, my dad made tractor gears for a living, and because I needed financial aid, I got a letter in May of my senior year in high school saying, because of your need for financial aid, we are being placed on next year's roster, but you don't have to audition again. So there goes my career. I had the lead in Music Man my senior year. I'm band captain. I'm choir president. It's like all this stuff going musically, and I guess it's over now. And my band director said, "You're going to school." So he got me at the last minute at Indiana University, and I was number 52 out of 52 percussion majors. But I had to be in marching band because they needed another body in marching band. And that's the only way I got into music school at Indiana.
Wow.
So they wanted me to be a timpanist and marimba, and I did all that, and I could do it, and apparently I was good at it. But Ken Aronoff was also there. He was supposed to be the next timpanist to come out of there to be in a major orchestra. And I just said, you know what, I got to get out of here. I started studying with John Von Ohlen, who was a Stan Kenton drummer and Woody Herman drummer, lived in Indianapolis. And in 8 months, he turned me around and had my focus on what I needed to do. And after that 8 months, I got the call to go on a Tommy Dorsey band, which means you play your butt off, people are going to start talking about you. That's all you have to worry about.
Yeah.
Go back to
Wow.
our other question that we were talking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was the beginning.
Did the marimba training come in over the years in composition or anything like that?
Piano more than marimba.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm allergic to the marimba. Again, I love hearing it played well, but I don't like to play it.
Yeah.
I'm a jazz drummer. I want to play a drum. I'm not,
Yeah.
I tolerate all keyboard instruments to play
Yeah.
them. Again, I love
Yeah.
hearing them play. I become really good friends with Shi Wu, who's this phenomenal percussionist. Uh,
Hmm.
Christopher Lamb is the principal in New York Phil. We just pal around these conventions all the time, and I love what they do. They're incredible musicians. I don't want to do that. But I do, like piano. I hate playing the piano, but I played with Oscar Peterson. Now, come on. So I love hearing the piano played the right way. I love the instrument.
Yeah.
I don't like to play
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I play, I don't even know if you could say arranger's piano. I play jazz vocalist accompanist piano.
That's good.
Although a guitar player came up to me years ago on my jam session and said, "Do you want to do a gig with me, a duo gig at this little Korean club?" I was like, "Why would he ask me that? I don't play in my jam session, and I mean, I can play chords and, I can't solo, can't play bass lines,
Right, right.
He just thought, yeah, she probably can do it. And I could, but that's about it. But
You
I
heard,
remember one time I was hired for this Japanese school in here in LA to teach some students. So of course I was accompanying them, and then they had to do a concert. And we went to the concert and I was playing, and suddenly I realized with horror that I was playing piano in front of people, and I freaked out, and then I had to really kind of mentally slap myself. So I would just like, get out of there, just do.
one of those
Oh my,
dreams where you walk out of the house only wearing your underwear, right?
exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Um, where's some of your next travels?
I go to New York this weekend. I've been active in the Jazz at Lincoln Center competitions, the
Oh,
essentially Ellington, and this weekend is the collegiate event, and several bands are going to play. The adjudicators are Winton, Francisco Torres. I don't have a list in front of me, but
yeah.
in other years, it's really a great group of people. Ron Carter was there one year adjudicating, Joe Lovano, and it really is it's just a love in of bands coming in and playing
Mm.
their butts off, and they love being in New York. They love playing in that room. It's a great experience. There's hardly any competitive thing going on. It's like we're just going to go out and play what we play, and this is what we love to do, and we think it's pretty good, And then you've got feedback from all of the judges. So that's coming up this weekend, 17th, 18th. And then I'm getting ready for the jazz cruise. I'll be at NAMM for one day at the Mapex booth. I'm a Mapex artist, and Pat Bianchi and I are doing a couple of sessions together at the Viscount booth, the organ booth. And then I go on the jazz cruise with my trio, which I've done since 1994, I believe. I just love the jazz cruise, and that's a real love with 150 musicians that are really all friends, and 2,500 jazz fans. It's just so great. So that'll be a week of that, and then we stay out. The trio stays out. We play Memphis, do our CD release at Memphis, and then Cafe Vivace for 2 nights in Cincinnati, and then I come home. I've
Sounds
taken a
fun.
month off, so I mean, I'm ready to get back to work. Uh, I got back from Shanghai with Diana Krall. We did a one-nighter, actually 40 minute set in Shanghai, and I got home December 7th, and I said, "That's it. I'm done for the year." So uh, the first trip will be to New York this weekend. So I'm rested and ready to go again.
That's wild. The New York thing sounds really fun. And let's just talk about adjudicating for a second. So, adjudicating is, I mean, an interesting. I think it's interesting. I think, obviously, people can share points of view about the quality, or, I mean, it sounds like you're all different instrumentalists. Um, and but sometimes it's hard to adjudicate. Although it sounds like you're not really well. The thing is, it's not comparing. It- Usually when you adjudicate, you have to give the winner, right?
Yeah.
That's what I've wrestled with over the years in adjudicating. It's like, well, I know that that sounds good, and this was a highlight or this was a downfall, and then where to place the numbers? Do you start middle of the road? you know, number five here and then go up or down? Or don't you think adjudicating is a little interesting?
It doesn't bother me.
No.
There are people who will not do it because you cannot put a number on art. And my numbers from 1 to 10 on all these categories are based on what they need to listen to or haven't listened to up to this point to make them a better musician or a better ensemble. And sometimes it's aimed at the band director who has
Yeah.
exposed them to enough of what they should. There was one case where in the final concert, the top three bands give you selected from down to 16 to the top three that had the best performance and things like really addressing the changes. Winton is a stickler on, did they come out and showboat or, they were scuffling through the changes. They're jiving you. Um, Things like that we do call them on because this is serious. What you want
Yeah.
to be, most of these kids want to be musicians.
Yeah.
So we're doing you a favor by pointing out maybe you need to spend some more time on this. And there was one that played one of my tunes it's called Max, and John Clayton arranged it, and they butchered it. And the drummer, it's a like a do da do ga do ba do ga da boo do ba do da do kind of like a New Orleans mojo kind of beat. And this kid played a bossa nova on it. And it's like, well, that's dumb. And so I worked with the band afterwards and I said, okay, did anybody listen to the original recording of this? No, nobody did. I said, you know who the composer of this is? No. So those kind of things, I think you need to get their attention
Yeah.
of, don't just come up here like a field trip on a bus, mean what you play.
Yeah.
That's on the director, so a
Yeah.
lot of these things are pointed out to the director, but at the essentially Ellington thing, nothing like that happens. They do
Yeah.
come in prepared,
Yeah.
and there's been very, very few negative comments about the adjudicating on those because the whole experience is so great. And you see other bands and what they're doing and what you can do. And you go, man, our band doesn't do that.
Yeah.
We do this, but we don't do that. Man, this is great. And they're hanging out in the hallway. And I've just seen friendships grow from these competitions.
Yeah.
But it's not just numbers. I mean, we're commenting, we're writing,
Yeah.
your ride cymbal beat is not balanced with your snare drum. Every time you hit the snare drum, you're hitting a rim shot. That's like a gunshot. I
Yeah.
don't think you're aware of that. So those kind of, I'd want to hear that if I was playing in one of these things. In fact, I was told at 15, do you realize how many rim shots you're hitting? Lead trumpet player is 22 years old. And I said, no. He says, every time you play a figure with the trumpets, you play a rim shot. And anytime you want us to come in, you play a rim shot. Do you know what that's like? I said, no.
That's not
It's
good.
like you're screaming at me. I just want to play music with you. And he turned around
Oh,
and
wow.
walked away. That's what I'm doing when I'm adjudicating. It's like you don't realize how this is coming off, and I'm pointing it out to you. Now you can take it or leave it, but that's what we're supposed to do. Supposed to comment on what you're doing. So I don't really look at it as a competition. Back to the three bands I was talking about that get to play at night one year. One band brought it in the afternoon. We'd heard it. They were incredible. It's like, I don't think anybody else can do this. This is unbelievable. Went and turned to me and he said, would you hire six of these players right now? And I said, before you do. So, I mean, they were that good. And then the evening performance, they tanked
Wow.
and they barely made the final three. I mean, they shouldn't have been in the final three the way they played that night. And all
Yeah.
of us agreed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that consistency we need as musicians too, that you need to get together. Every time you put that horn to your face, it's 100%. Nothing else matters in the world. That's what matters, and you got to bring it. And so these things are good for that. I mean, it's a hard day. It's
Yeah.
it's hard going to New
Very.
York, and
Yeah.
it's exciting, and you don't sleep, and
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I love these things because of that. I mean, every time you hit the bandstand, bang, because the next band's going to bring it too.
And so regarding the winner, I mean, is that can that be a real uh, subtle difference,
Who made me put my
or
pencil?
is it?
Who made me put my pencil down and sit back and listen to the rest of the performance?
Oh, okay,
It's
okay,
beyond giving a score. It's beyond that.
yeah, yeah,
One year,
right,
there was a high school band that came from Oregon, and they walked
yeah,
out on the stage and they all turned their music stands like this. And they sat
yeah,
down and they played Duke Ellington's The Bartered Bride by memory,
wow,
a long piece of music. They're the only band that did that year. All of us adjudicators put our pencils down, sat there and listened to these 15, 16-year-olds playing the hell out of this piece of music and filling up, listening to it. Winton was mopping tears. He's not
oh,
afraid. He'll tell you the same thing. We were a mess.
yeah,
These kids, there was nobody that brought it emotionally to the rest of that weekend like these kids did, and they deserve to be pointed out as having
yeah,
something that nobody else had there.
yeah, that's
Instead
great.
of a winner, I mean,
Yeah,
you brought something that nobody else
acknowledgement.
can
Yeah,
touch, and they were proud that they were the only band that memorized their set. Now, every band that plays has their music memorized. So that's what I'm talking about.
yeah,
It's competition within themselves. Like, man, they do this, we don't do this.
yeah,
And I think it's very healthy. I loved competitions coming up.
yeah,
I loved them because, man, I didn't want anybody to do something that I wasn't capable of doing. So I worked harder and
yeah,
I'd be prepared for anything I was going to be up against.
yeah,
So it's just my nature, but a lot of people don't like the competition. And I don't want to, I'm not going to beat you just to beat you.
yeah,
I don't care if I win, but you're giving me something to shoot for if I know you're the hot shot from last year.
yeah, yeah. Um, I, the last, maybe this was why, but the last adjudication I did was up on the West Coast somewhere. It was a while back. And, we had I don't know if you probably don't use them, but we had a little tape recorder. It was for high school groups singing. It was for singers.
Yeah,
And, man, they put a lot of time and money into those shows. They're almost like big Broadway shows.
yeah, yeah.
And so, normally you have the tape recorder going and, you're making these comments, like you said, this could be a little different. That was really nice, blah, blah, blah. And this one group came up. It was an ensemble with maybe 5 singers. And all the singers took solos, absolutely did not know the music. Each singer. And I started losing it while I
Sounds like
was
some of the
struggling.
real gigs.
Oh my God. Like I was trying to be, nice and but I started after like the third kid, I was like, what's going on? What are you teaching these kids? They don't know the music. And I started really losing it. That was the last adjudication I got hired for.
Well,
So maybe it didn't go
that's
over very well.
that's the price. It's like who's going to point it out? Yeah, I think a lot of the competition. I think a lot of directors are using it as a field day, and not
Yeah.
really serious about
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
some directors want to take back a trophy. So
Yeah.
I don't do a lot. This is the only thing I do.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not an adjudicator by profession.
Sounds great though.
But
God, it sounds like so
it's
much
it's the
fun.
right it's the right setting with the right people with the right
Yeah.
frame of mind from the people
Yeah.
participating. They're anxious to hear what you have to say about it, and we give speeches after the competition about how this is not about who gets the most points. And I tell them, hey, I didn't make a band my first semester at IU. I mean, we're having a love in here about this is what happens. So if you don't feel like you did as well today, maybe you need to look at what you did. We're just pointing out some things, and you don't have to agree with us. It's how you sounded for 15 minutes to 5 people, and we're giving you our honest opinion.
It's a really great opportunity.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the competitive thing is, it's healthy competition is great. I mean, when I was coming up here, um, back when I was 21 and all that stuff, uh, those were the days when there were tons of gigs. So many gigs that you had to share, like you couldn't do all the gigs that showed up, so you'd have to know who to call
Yeah.
to get them to sub for you, right? And then if somebody got a gig that you desired, it just you didn't hate them. You thought, oh, I should do that gig. I could get that gig, and then you would go after the gig and get it. So it's kind of, yeah, it's a, you know,
Well,
I love,
that community was very special. The Joyce Collins connection and Bill Henderson, and
yeah,
I remember that. That's how I first heard of you, was through that community of vocalists, and it was really when I played with Mark Murphy at Le Cafe, all of them would show up.
yep,
I mean,
yeah,
it was really a singer-supported atmosphere. There were rooms that were just for vocalists. That's what Lois Boileau almost had a heart attack when Mark Murphy said, "I won't play up there without Jeff on drums." And I'm carrying the drums up the back steps, and she said, "How many trips are you going to make? Because we don't allow drummers in here." And I said, "Oh, I just have my second Louis Bellson bass drum in the car, and that'll be it." And I thought she's going to have a heart attack. And it
That's
was it
great
was
about that.
brushes all night because it was a quiet room and it was all glass wall and all. So, but I had to prove the point that it belongs there. And then I played there several times. I ended up really
Yeah,
liking Lois a lot. But that whole vocalist community was wonderful at that period.
yeah, it really was. Well, now I've reinvented a club that I was booking before the pandemic downtown. It's kind of on that corner behind Disney Hall and Mark Taper, right
Okay.
around there. And it's inside this vegan restaurant called Olak, but it's actually a club called Birds of a Feather Jazz Lounge, and
Oh, okay.
it's a listening room. It holds 40 people. We put a piano there, a whole back line, lighting, sound, and it's really really nice. And so we're starting to get a lot of people coming in, and all kinds of people. Actually, Christian played there this weekend, and but singers, instrumentalists, and mostly jazz, but all kinds of stuff. God, we had Dimitri Malis who played. Did he play mandolin with a trio? Oh, that was you would have loved that.
Hmm.
Nolan Shahid
Mhm.
played there with Ricky Woodard and Smitty and Kevin O'Neill. It was just yeah,
Great.
it's been really fun, very nice, and it's funny because the room stops early. It's about 9:15, 9:30, and there's no alcohol. But the good part about that is all ages can come.
Mm, mm.
So yeah. So anyway, it's really fun, and
Great. Good for you.
yeah, yeah. So I want to thank you so much for giving me the time. It's really lovely of you, and I mean, you're exactly who I thought you were.
Let me finish.
Oh God. But it's really been great to know your thoughts and some of your history and point of views and stuff. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It was nice to finally get more than 5 or 10 minutes of hang time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Have a great time in New York. I'm going to be thinking about that.
It should be fun. Well, it'd be 23 degrees at night, but yeah, just
But
think
you're going to
warm,
bring a warm coat, right?
think warm thoughts. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll bump into you at the NAM. I sometimes I go, sometimes I don't. I have a
I,
Japanese friend who comes here every year for a month so he
mm,
can go to the NAM show. He's a
yeah,
bass player. So sometimes I don't want him to go alone.
yeah.
It's not my thing. It's not a
No,
vocalist
I've
thing.
been doing them since '78, and I kind of retired from it.
Yeah.
And this year I kind of got roped in and needed to be there, and I'm playing three sets, like 20-minute sets or whatever, with Pat Bianchi, which is going to be a ball. So
Yeah.
Mapex wanted me there for something, and so I
That's cool.
probably should be there, but I just don't. I'm just so tired of the original NAM was a lot more doable than the looky loos that are coming in on the weekends now. Or it's like you feel like you're a caged
Yeah.
animal and you can't get off the
Yeah.
booth. But
Yeah.
if it's done the right way, I don't mind doing it. So anyway,
Yeah.
I'm only there Thursday, so maybe I'll see you then.
You're only there Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that when you're at Mapex?
Yeah, that and Viscount also. That's VISCOUNT booth. It's like the organ booth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the organ booth.
Yeah.
I like that booth. I think I've been there.
Yeah.
That's fun. It's really fun to see.
Yeah. And I
Okay.
have no idea what times we're playing yet. I don't know. So
Yeah.
pretty loose. Well,
Have
Cathy,
a
thank you so much, and great success with the club, and thanks for getting something started again.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one, man.
All right, we'll do.